broadcasting live from deep beneath the wastes of Colorado. And today on the show, we're going to be continuing with our project of making a friendly robot. Gonna take a look at this in Blender for a moment. So, we've already pretty much made our model, and we're just going to be making some animations for it. So, how this works is it's a little robot that flies around the space station in the game that I'm making. And how it works is if like a window's broken, it fixes that, keeps us from getting sucked out into the harsh vacuum of outer space. And it just fixes wires and moves all around and picks up trash and things like that. So, not sure if this will take the entire episode or if we'll have time for to get started on our next project. But all that's coming up, and thank you so much for joining us, and we'll get to all that in just a moment. Hey there, my name's Jory, and this is the Blender Robot Manufactory. I'm a 3D artist and game designer currently making a roguelike platformer in Unity 3D. On this live stream, I give a window into my process of creating models in Blender. We'll be learning the basic commands and techniques I use to create a range of designs for my video game, from furniture to robots to animated human characters. I'll also show how I create models for use in 3D printing. Since we'll be focusing on my personal workflow, this channel will not be a comprehensive course, and many features of Blender will never be covered. However, this channel is meant to be a great jumping off point if you've never used Blender before. We'll also be covering topics that are interesting at any skill level, like what makes a good design, how to generate ideas for unique creations, and how to compose shapes in three-dimensional space to create models that look great from any angle. So whether you've never made a 3D model and would love to learn, you've been doing it for years, or you just want to hang out, relax, and enjoy my process, please tune into the Blender Robot Manufactory on Twitch TV. Alright, so we're back in Blender, and before we get started, I should also mention that we're going to be trying out a new time slot this week, so we'll still be broadcasting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time next Saturday, but I'm also going to try 2 p.m. Eastern Time Tuesday and Thursday, and right after the stream, I'll update the site to reflect that. So, let's just get started in Blender. Just give me just a moment. There we go. So, just like last time, we're going to be, just like the Into the Machine project, we're going to be making an armature first and getting this all rigged up for movement. There we go. So just saving a new copy of this to start off with. I like to keep a lot of different versions of the project in case I want to go back and mess with it later. So I think what we're going to start with is just making an armature like last time. It just puts a single bone on screen to start out. Move this into the center. And before that, I'm going to make sure all my transforms are applied. So as you can see, the location and scale of these is a little off. So just going to apply location, rotation, and scale for all of these. And maybe I'll try to combine these into a few less models. It looks like we didn't quite get done naming everything last time. And I think I'll just apply all of these. So basically I just want things that are different parts on different objects for now. So let's have a look. I think actually these divisions are pretty good at the moment, but I am going to name these objects so we can keep track of them better. Let me see. So we'll just call this one main body. Or just body. There we go. Now, tank could probably be part of the body. So, just thinking about this. Since this has a mirror modifier, I think I'll keep the tank separate for now. Just apply all of this at the very last minute. This is the, gotta apply the transform of this one. And we'll call this the central jet, maybe. Right now, claw top. Claw finger left. And claw finger right. There we go. And I feel like I got some extra objects somewhere in here. Oh, this little piece. Gotta get rid of this armature for a minute while we figure this out. So let's just have a look. I guess this is going to be separate for now. Probably won't add a whole lot seeing this move separately from the rest of it. But let's just move this around and see if that does something interesting. You know, I still kind of like animating that, so we'll keep it as a separate piece for now. So this is actually going to be the claw mid. And this one will be the claw top. And what else have we not named? Oh, we have a cube down here for some reason. Those will sneak into your scene if you let them. Gotta make sure you don't have cubes stowing away in there. So now I'm just going through here making, ooh, this one doesn't have the location applied. There we go. Make sure nothing wonky is happening now that we're applying all of these transforms, looking good. And just going through one more time. There we go, and all that's looking really good. So, let me think about this. We're just going to start making that armature. And some... Yeah, for this one, it really is going to be important to have a root bone that anything not moving is set to. So, maybe I'll just put this, rotate like that to really get out of the way. -90 for the rotation. Move it over here. And then just apply those transforms. We'll just call this one the root. There we go. And now let's add some more bones here. I'll eventually put those on this armature, but maybe in just a moment. Let's see what else we can do with this. So, maybe I'll start off with these balloons up here. So we'll be doing a symmetrical armature this time. So we'll get to talk about how that's set up. Just rotating this, getting it nice and solid in the balloon. And probably the only thing I'm going to be using this for is scaling the balloon up and down. But we'll see how it goes. So just moving this nicely over there, then applying the transform. And something else I like to do with this is going into edit mode. And I've had some problems in the past with the roll of the bone on the other side of the model getting a little wonky. So I just like to set that. You know, actually, we'll leave that for now. Hope it's good. So now I'm just Shift D to duplicate that. And we are going down here to armature, mirror. I think this is the, what axis is this? The x-axis. So mirror along the x-axis. There we go. So that's not quite right, but let's try that again. Object mode. Duplicate that object, mirror, and we want the x-axis. So now this is over here, and I'm going to go ahead and name these balloons before we put them on one object. So I'm calling this one balloon dot, I'll call it dot R, because I always like to name these from the perspective of the model. So there we go. And then I'm going to name this one the same thing, but .L for left. And Blender has a lot of different words I'll recognize for naming things left and right. Not even sure what all of them are, but .R and .L work. So now we're going to join these together, and that should work out pretty well. Now it looks like we may already be getting a little wonkiness with that roll. Yep. So I'm gonna undo all of that and try again with that roll at 0. There we go, just set the roll to 0, and going to duplicate this, then object mirror, X global, and let's try this again. So then this one's going to be .R, this one's going to be .L. And the only reason why it's, you know, I'm calling this one left is because when I make humans, I like to model them facing me. So, you know, this would be the back of the human. Doesn't really apply to the robot, but just to keep everything, the same. I'm going to do it with this too. So now we are joining these together. And there's, oh, I think I know what's going on. I gotta apply the scale for this. Now we're joining these together, and that's looking pretty good. So like I said, we're probably just going to be scaling these balloon bones up and down. So what else have we got? We've got this central jet. I'd like a bone for that. So usually I like to make bones separate and then add them to the existing armature later. And the only reason for that is it's a little easier to position them when they're their own object. So just joining those up with the root bone, and gonna select none and create a new armature. And if you're just joining us for the first time, we're working on a little hovering robot that's going to be moving all around the game that I'm making and fixing things as it finds them. And let's see, so I want this at the pivot point of that jet. Just moving this where I think it's going to be rotating around, so maybe right there will be good. That seems like about the center of it. And I'll be calling this central jet. There we go. Maybe just pull this out a little more so we can see it better. Now I'm going to duplicate this, and I'd like this go to our transform so we can get that exact. Set this to 180, and I'd like those to be rotating from the same exact point. And let's see. So this is actually going to be a tiny piece of just this rotating around. I'm going to go ahead and turn on X-ray so we can see that through our model. And then I think I'll just move this down And we probably want some bones set up to move this spindly arm attachment around that we set up. I think this thing's going to be pretty interesting in how it moves once everything's ready. There we go. And it probably would have been better for me to just set all of this up so that it starts out in more of a straight position, but it's not really going to matter. So just put that here. Let's see, that'll work out. Maybe I can separate this one. Armature, see if I remember how to do this. Separate bones, does that do it? That does not do it. There we go, armature, separate bones. There we go. So the only reason I did that is I'm going to want all of these to be basically lined up with the objects that they're moving around. It looks like we lost our music. There we go. And let's see what we can do with this. So just moving this over here should still be lined up with this other bone here. So I'm going to turn X-ray on for that. And let's start joining these bones to each other. So if I can select them, these ones get joined up, these get joined up, and we can go ahead and join them to the rest of it. And make sure X-ray is on. So now this is all one rigid part, so we can just make one long bone just extruded for this. And let me think about this. So actually it's going to be right here, and just take a look at our side view. That should be fine. And then we're going to need another bone for this piece here. And one more for this claw here. So this one actually has a pivot point that's a little farther up. So I'll be making another bone for that. Just drag this down here and get positioned. There we go. Turn off this other armature for a minute so we can really get that right. And this isn't exactly pointing the way that the claw is pointing, but it should be a good angle for manipulating this. But gotta select the whole thing. Just move that over. And that should be good. So now I'm going to just apply the transforms of this one and get that merged to get it joined to these other bones. There we go. So what else have we got on this model? We've got a hose here. That's going to need its own inverse kinematics, a little like this machine that we made a few streams ago. So let's see what we can do with that. Now make another bone, just drag this over there. Pull this up here and just get that IK set up. There we go. And this is going to be the same thing, just pulling out a new bone for each division I want on this. This might be a little much in the way of separate moving parts for how small this is, but it should be good. There we go, and then one more. And this is going to be our IK, so I'm just going to separate this bone. Alright, and then I'm going to join that back. The reason I'm separating this is it's going to be the target for our IK. So this other armature for the tubing is going to be following that. And you know, this is a little much. I think I'm going to delete a few of these bones and try to maybe go away with a little less movement. So we'll see how that goes. There we go, just snap that to there. And this tube's just going to be so tiny. I don't want to use that many bones for it. Yeah, maybe even one less. Just see what this looks like. I'm not sure if we really need that many for this either. Let's have a look. Could probably go away with this many. There we go. Let's just even these out a little. I think I'll do one less. Snap this to here. Move it up. And there we go. Four bones for this tiny thing's probably plenty. And we can even add some more divisions in this to get looking more round without actually making more bones for that. So now we'll just get these lined up with the rest of it. There we go. And turn off that other armature so we can see this one a little better. And then moving that tiny IK target up. Just gonna snap this in place. There we go. And, I don't know, this IK doesn't really need to be very large or noticeable. Awesome. I think we might be ready to start joining all of these armatures to each other. So join this up. I think we have one more armature somewhere. What is this? Okay, that's our IK, that's important. So join this to the rest of it. Oh, something changed. Yeah, maybe I'll apply this first. There we go, join that all up. And we got another armature somewhere. What is that? Is this even an armature? Doesn't seem to be any bones on here. I'll just delete this. There we go, so we've only got one armature now. And as far as I can tell, everything's connected to it. So now that, let's just see if there's anything else we want. These two jets, they're not going to be moving. They'll just constantly be shooting down to help it hover in place. And, let me see. I think we're doing pretty good for what kind of bones we want on this. So now we can actually start rigging this up. And just make sure our transforms are still applied here, and they are. So something else I'm going to need to do first is go over here, go into edit mode, And I forget quite where that is, and we're going to need X mirror for this. And that's going to help get these bones rigged up. So this one's controlling this balloon, and then this one's controlling something behind the mirror modifier. So let's just see if we can't get that set up. So now I'll be adding a armature modifier, maybe save first. And let's see, we just want the one armature in our scene. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn these to the to looking like well sticks so we can see the model better. So now let's go into pose mode. You can access that down here. And then with just this bone selected, I'm going to shift right click on the balloon. And then we're going into weight paint mode. Now, it's always a little bit tricky getting this set up so that the right bone's controlling the right part, left bone's controlling the left part. So let's just see if we can get that working. First try. Alright, so now I'm just going all around this. And there we go. So basically this is just going to be making the bone deflate. And I'm going to do a little trick where I just pull this over here to make it easier to paint all the vertices. There we go, just getting all of these at maximum weight. Getting these two. And then going down here. And if you're just joining us, we're making a little hovering robot that moves around the space station and fixes things as it goes. It's got balloons for if the area it's in is pressurized, it has jets for if it isn't. Basically prepared for any situation it finds. So it looks like we're still missing some of these vertices. Just getting them all on there. This one and this one too. There we go. And I like to go into wireframe to help me see where all the vertices are. Let me see. So do we have... Oh yeah, we do have some more vertices there. So let's try that again and get these ones onto the balloon armature too. I think we have one here as well. There we go, and get this too. And there we go. So now let's just move this back and see what we can do with this. Right, and then Alt-G to undo the transforms we did on that. So that's looking pretty good. And let's see if the other one works too. There we go, perfect. So now I'm going to, I might be doing the bone constraints on here to help us control just one aspect of the animation. But first, I'm just going to see if there's another way I can do this. So... Oh, there we go. I don't need a bone constraint. So it looks like I can use these to get really specific control over the scale as we're bringing this in. So basically, it's gonna do something like this when we're ready to animate it. So it starts at 1, and then it just deflates like that, then moves in like that, and then it just kind of tucks in here. And that way we'll get a nice animation of this inflating and deflating. It'll look really cool, I'm hoping. So, set this scale back where it was. There we go. And moving on, make sure this one does the same thing. Now, What else are we gonna need here? Pretty much everything else on this object is gonna be set to the root bone, so we'll just go ahead and do that. And I think we might actually be ready to apply this mirror modifier, so let's do that and just make sure these, yep, rigging's still good. I believe that was our only mirror modifier. So now I'm going to put the rest of these on this root bone, just pulling these way out of the way so we don't hit them. Gain the root bone. Let's see what we can do with that. Everything's gotta be on the root bone if it isn't on another bone. So just going all around, making sure we got all of these without hitting the balloons. There we go, that's looking pretty good. So let's try pulling this out. And now I'm going to do the same thing with this tank. And just adding an armature modifier. There we go. And just gain the weight all on here too. Now, is there anything else that we want on our root bone? I'm thinking the rest of these are probably going to be in motion, so we can just move all this back. But maybe I'll actually leave these over here, just really get them out of the way of the rest of our weight painting. And I'll put them back where they were. So now, just gonna go ahead and add a bunch of armature modifiers. You get one, and you get one, and you get one. Everybody gets an armature. And you certainly get one. And you get one. And I wouldn't have to do this so much if these were all one object, which they will be eventually, but makes it easier to work with if they're separate objects. And I don't really like that says testy in the corner, so let's just type something out. There we go. Now we got some other things in our chat box. Okay, so back to modeling this. Going to, this one should be pretty easy. I'll just change this to add. And just get all the vertices here on this one bone. This thing's got a mirror modifier, doesn't it? Nope. Well, that's fine. Grab this over here. Looks like it's all following that. Our burnt bebop cigarette ash really blends into the background here. There we go. So now this little piece. Really don't know if that's going to add much to the model since it's so tiny, but we'll leave it in for now. And here's the fun part. We weren't at the fun part before, but this is definitely the fun part. Making sure the right bones are assigned to each piece in this little hose. There we go. And I'll skip the joints for now. while we've got this big brush with 100% weight, we'll go back and add those later. There we go. Go to this one. And for the joints between these, we'll basically want, we'll want like 50% one bone, 50% another. I think I'll want another loop cut on here. So, always gives me a warning when I put a loop cut on something with an armature, so we'll just take that off for a minute. There we go, and I would like these bones to meet up at the loop cuts. So just move this up here. And let me see, so we have one bone here that isn't a joint between two of them. And I think I'd like to move this up to where the loop cut is. Move this here. And now we'll go back and add the joints between these. So it looks like this part could, let's see how that looks rotating around. No, actually that's pretty good. I feel like this needs to be up a little more though. Really zooming in on this so I can select it. This will be at the center of this cubey dealy. These very technical terms on the Blender Robot Manufactory. And I think the cubey dealy is going to need to be a little bit higher. Move this up so it's the same. Those are looking good. Let's just have a look at these. So I think that is rotating about where we want it. But this piece, you see it's actually not quite long enough for the amount of rotation. So I'm going to extend this out. Let's see how that looks, so maybe even extend it a little more. There we go. And I think I'd actually like to move this piece back so that it's a little more centered on that. Looks like we already have the right piece selected. There we go. Move this over here. So let's have another look at that, see if it's rotating better. And now we're rigging these up again. So I think I'm going to want like 50% weight on these. And then do the other one as well. And I always want these at the joints, so gotta move this up a bit. And the reason we're doing 50% for one bone and 50% for the other bone is so that it looks like it's flexing, so we can probably see it here. You see it looks like more of a flexible tube and less of a rigid machine part. I'll do the same thing for here. And do the same thing down here. I think I'd like this to be more in the center of the object. Same goes for all these joints. So where is the joint for this painted? There we go. So this bone really wants to be down here. There we go, just move that down there. Let's just have a look at how this is rotating so far. Now we really do need one more division in this. I think we can do that though. Edit mode, and then we are going to say, we're gonna see if we can split this in two. Might take just a moment to figure this out. Split is not what we want. Oh, subdivide, of course. There we go. And let's see, that isn't too bad actually. So it looks like this one doesn't have any weight, so we'll just assign it to here. Still using our 50% brush. What's this one? Okay, that one's correct. And going up here, doing the same thing. For this one, we're going to subtract it from all these places it doesn't apply to anymore. There we go, and also here because I only want 50% weight there. It occurs to me I probably should have named these bones before I started this. Don't think he'll mess it up if I do that later though. I'm just doing the same thing down here. And this is going to be a place where the flexible joint turns into more of a rigid structure. So both of these get the 50% weight. And then we'll just do 100% weight for the rest of these. Press F to get a bigger brush here. Just move that all around there. There we go. So this part should be good. Let's have a look at how that moves. So we can swing this around. There we go. And it looks a little jagged, but that should be fine for this size on screen that this is going to be. Now I think I'd like to name all of my bones before we get too much farther. So what did I name this piece? Arm top, claw top, and claw mid. So just go to these bones and name all of these as we go. So, arm top. Guess I'll call this thing the hose tentacle dealy. Hose 1. No, this thing down here is the hose. This is the, what should I call this? It's like the jelly sway thing, jelly 1. Probably regret giving it that name. Jelly 3. There we go, and one more. What did I already do 4? You are going to be named 5. 1, 2. There we go. That's all looking good. So now I'm going to this claw arm, and I think this is claw mid. Now what is this piece called? Claw finger left. And it's not strictly necessary to name all these bones, but it will help us if there's an issue with this and we need to get back into it later. Maybe we'll just call this claw long and claw short. If I could start calling these left and right, Blender might start thinking that I want to mirror them like we did with these balloons. There we go. And then just going to do the hoses. And while we're at it, we're going to want these the same way as those other pieces, where each one of these divisions is centered on one of our loop cuts. And let me think about this. So, these ones are the hose. Alright, and I think that may be all of our bones. So let's make sure this still works with our renamed bones. It does. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be parenting these. What that's going to mean is that this can move around with the other bone, even though they're not exactly attached to each other. Oh, and this is the hose IK. So this one gets parented to that one as well. And this gets parented to this piece. So let's see what's going on here. That's looking good. Let's go ahead and give this some inverse kinematics. Adding the inverse kinematics constraint. Your target is the armature, and the bone is going to be targeting is the hose IK. And I'm just going to set this chain length, just move this over here for testing. There we go, and that's all the bones we're going to want that moving around. So now you see this hose is going to move around with the claw. And any other parenting we want to do. Now, full disclaimer, this is an actual child parenting, and it's not legally a substitute for parental guardianship, just FYI. Parent it to this. And this one looks good. Now, I was thinking about this. So we're actually going to want this tank on this bone since it's just moving around with the claw. The claw! And we lost our music again. I gotta figure out what's going on with Clementine. And all the music we're listening to today is from my good friend Victros. That's Viktros. He's got all of his stuff up on SoundCloud. And he's one of my favorite artists, so I highly recommend him. I'm also going to be using his music in the game that I'm making. Just give all of these a little bone weight. And yeah, this bone needs to be pulled out a bit, so we'll go ahead and do that. Move this right here. And something feels a little off about these. Is it just because we have this inverse kinematics going? Let's see what happens if I turn that off for a minute. No, I just moved these weird. That should be a little better. We're doing the same thing we did up there, where we've got this bendy piece hooking up to a more rigid mechanical piece. This one's going to need a little weight on that joint as well. There we go. Just one more here. So in the video game, I've been working on the wiring system. And maybe we'll take a look at that a little later. So right now, I've got this cool electricity effect moving through all the wires. And I just set it up so if the electric system gets linked up to blocks, they all get electrified. There's lightning bolts flying everywhere, which obviously kills the player. So I'm pretty excited about all of that, and now that I have that set up, I can start getting that weight switch we made a few streams ago in. There we go. And that's looking pretty good. This hose doesn't need to be perfect, but I like how it's flexing with the claw. And maybe I can just get this part out of the way for now so that we don't accidentally add some weight to it we don't want to. Pulling this all the way out. This is a really relaxing song. I think I might use it for the botany section of the game where we have a bunch of different trees growing. It's really lush and green. A little more here. Well, something weird's going on, but that's probably just because I moved that way out. So, yeah, that's looking good. I think that'll work really well. I've got this big document where I kind of lay out what I think all of the songs would be good for in the game. So, you know, some of them are really intense and they make good boss battle music. Some of them are still have some energy but aren't quite as over the top, so they're good just middle of the road, running around the level music. There's a few ones that I really want to use for these special scenes in the game. Let me actually go over to one of those now, so let me see if this is the one. Oh yeah, this is the one. So I've got in mind for this song is you know, this, hang on, let me show it to you. Projects, there we go. So, you know, this mech that I've got on all of my banners. So these are going to be invading the space station and, you know, trying to capture the creator main character. And, there's going to be these mercenaries and these mechs that are just bursting through windows and decompressing sections of the station left and right. So I'm thinking this would be a really fun song for that. So back to friendly robots, because that is what we're currently working on. Let's see, we gotta get this one rigged up as well. Gotta rig all the bones. Ooh, I like that. So this is how I was hoping this would look with this claw, where it's rotating kind of off-center. Now, it's probably just going to be doing this mostly in game where it's extending and retracting. Let's see, so we got some good motion here. And, you know, I just realized I probably don't want to rotate all of these individually while I'm animating. So I think we're going to do a second IK here if we can. Right, edit. Yeah, maybe I'll do these ones. And in order to get these unattached to that, we are going to, we're gonna do something. Yeah, that's the one. There we go. So now we can join this back to the original armature. But now new and improved. So you see these are separated now. And then, hope I got the right bone here. Just extrude that out. Guess this is its own thing, that's fine. And we are calling this, call that the jelly, so jelly IK. And pay no attention to that text at the bottom of my screen. Gotta keep remembering to turn screen keys off when I type something. Let's see if this is still hooked up. So now we're going to put another inverse kinematics on there. Target is the armature. Jelly IK. Just set our chain length properly. You can see each one of our chain links moving to snap to it. And it'd be pretty cool if this piece would do it too. I probably could set that up. There we go, so that's kind of fun. Though I do need a rotation constraint on this so it doesn't wobble all over the place. Maybe we can set the IK for this too. There we go. It's still not connected. Oh, that's all right. I'm just going to have this following the claw around. And let's see. So I feel like, I don't know. This does get turned around a little bit, but we can manually move it if we need to. Could also set some kind of rotation constraint on this bone so it's, you know, not getting too turned around. Let's try that one. So we are limiting the rotation. And let's just set all these to -50, 50, see what that does. And that doesn't do anything. This is the motion we really want to prevent. I wonder if that's Y rotation. It looks like it's X rotation. I'm just going to get that moved around to where we don't want it and see if we can't straighten it out with these constraints. I wonder what this rotation is. Now let's see what would be doing without that constraint. Yeah, this isn't doing much. We'll get rid of it. Animation's a law of trial and error. So I'm actually noticing that maybe we'd like the IK target a little bit higher with this. So let's try getting rid of the IK on this one. Moving this IK target up to here. Can move this little wrist piece manually. And what if you had the IK? I'm just doing these same things before, again now on our jelly IK. There we go, it's not looking too bad. Might not even need this bone. Woo. And something's kind of off with this. I guess it makes sense that would be off. So we're going to extend the weight on this bone a little bit. We'll get to 50 here. And subtract it all down here. There we go. It actually does look a bit better. Now, I was saying we'd like this piece to, I don't know, probably not rotate like that, so let's see if we can't fix that. Trying to snap this one into place. Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to go though. So let's just do that manually. And now we add the bone constraint. Limit the rotation. And I'm guessing this is along the y-axis, so let's try that. That is not correct. Maybe we want local space for this. Probably the inverse kinematics that's screwing this up. Come to think of it, we don't even need this limit rotation if we just move this constraint down a bit. Oh, it's doing infinite chain length, no wonder. So maybe one less chain length. There we go. That's not too bad. So it's probably going to look something like that when the claw's retracted. This hose just curls up a bit. Yeah, I'm liking that a lot. Then these two will be rotating together, so... probably something like that. I guess I could have the claw out a little more. I don't know, we could do something like that. See what it looks like when we rotate over here. That could be pretty cool. So are we finished with the rigging? Let's just test all of these. There we go. So I think we might actually be ready for the animation stage of this. So I'm just saving this. I'm so neurotic about saving. Okay, so, what kind of animations do we need for this? We're going to have our balloons inflating and deflating. That's one of them. We're, let me think about this. So I could have these pieces as separate objects rotating manually in Unity 3D. That's probably what I'll end up wanting to do. So it's possible that we didn't even need to rig this one up. That's probably going to just be easier if we're rotating it as a separate object. And then this, of course, will need the it will need the animations we gave it, but again, I think all that rigging's gonna pay off though. So the rotation of the claw and of the engine are going to be handled in-game. So basically we need these balloons inflating and deflating. We need a grabbing animation for the claw, and maybe a little sway as this is moving around. We'll see how that looks. So I'll just go ahead and delete this bone. There we go. And when I delete a bone, I also like to get rid of the vertex groups in this menu over here, just so it isn't storing information it doesn't need. And I'll just put the 3D cursor right at the center of this. And then set the origin to the 3D cursor. There we go, so now it's rotating properly again. We'll go ahead and do the same thing for this one. We'll go ahead and separate out the armature for this piece. Since this is going to be on a separate object from the other one. Then all of these will need their armature modifier changed. But let's just go ahead and call this the claw armature. Turn off screen keys before I do that. And you are going to be the body armature. And we're just going through all of these, putting them on the claw armature. And test it out to make sure it still works. That's claw armature as well. And all that's looking really good. Then I think I'll go ahead and merge this tank with the rest of the body. And with all that figured out, we can start making these animations. So first off, we're going to open up our action editor. But not like that. And then I'm just gonna go here and select Action Editor. Go back to our timeline and let me think about this. So we're going to be changing location and scale for these bones here. So I'll just select those. And Unity yells at me if I don't start on frame 1. So I think 40 frames would be good for this. Let's go back to the action editor. And I'll just call this actually, yeah, we'll probably need an idle animation for each of these states, and one animation for inflating / deflating them. So balloons idle, and I'll just select both of these and insert. And just so this isn't one frame long, let's insert again at frame 5. There we go. So now we got the idle animation for these. And I'll make the deflated idle in just a minute. Inflated idle. Right now, just clicking that F to make sure it gets saved. And whenever I go to a new animation, I like to press Alt R, S, and G to make sure all that movement's undone. Clicking X and doing a new animation. This one is going to be balloons deflate. Or just call it deflate. Go back to our timeline. This one's going to be 40 frames long. So we're going to insert the keyframe just like before. I'm thinking this is going to have 2 parts to it. So the first one is it scales down. The next one is those little pieces move inside there. But maybe it'll do both of them at once. So let's just set the end frame and see if it needs a little more action in the middle. So I'm just pulling out the transform here, and let's see what direction I need to scale these. So I'd like, yeah, that's the issue. So I think I would like this in 2 parts. So let's just say at frame 30, these are both going to be at 0.2 maybe. Press I while hovering over this to insert it. And insert that. There we go. So that's the first part of the deflation. Then these are going to move inside, so just scale them the rest of the way. Pull this in. There we go, and that looks good. So insert that. Now I'm just pressing Control C and Control Shift V to get the mirror on the other side. Insert that. And I'm actually liking that. Might be clipping on this a little. So I'll just add a frame right here to prevent that. There we go, that's better. And let's actually play that to see what it looks like. Get this armature out of the way a little. And I'm liking that. Might wind up speeding it up a little bit in Unity 3D. And that's going to happen when the room decompresses and it switches to just using these jets for staying in the air. And it probably won't be running these jets when there's air in the room, since it can just float around with these balloons. So just something to give a little more visual interest. And I can also do the reverse of that, where there we go. So I just reversed the animation to get those balloons inflating again. And I'm really happy with how that looks. So now I'm moving on. Get that armature back. And I am going to copy that so I can use in the idle animation. Go over to our action editor. And this one's done. Now we're making another action. Deflated idle. That's only going to really have one position. So just inserting these here. And I'm going to insert again at keyframe number 5. That's just going to help the game engine transition a little better between these different animation states. There we go. So I think our balloons are all finished up. There we go. So let's just have a look at them. That is when it's moving to a deflated state. Deflated idle. And inflated idle, all looking good. So now just gotta make sure all that movement is undone. And going to go ahead and close out that animation. So now we're going to make some animations for this other armature over here, the claw armature. Make sure I got that selected. Go into pose mode. And let me think about this. So I think I'd like this pretty much just has the grabbing animation. And, you know, the 2 idle animations, just like the balloons. And if you're joining us for the first time, we're just animating this little robot that I'm making for the game that I'm making. And what this does is it flies all around this space station in the game, fixing things. So it's patching broken windows and stuff like that. So just turning off these armatures so we can see it better. And we just made a little animation so it can inflate and deflate these balloons. So I'll just show you that real fast. And there we go. So when it runs out of air, it can just pull these balloons in. Close this out. And now we're going to make a grabbing animation for the claw. So I think I'll make an idle first. So we'll just call this, retracted idle. Claw retracted idle. And then we're not going to be messing with the scale of these, so let's just do location rotation for now. And I think 40 is a good number of frames for this one. Like I said, I usually wind up changing around the amount of time these take in Unity 3D. So I don't gotta get perfect right here. And I'm just gonna position all of these in the idle position. There we go. I'm also thinking it's probably going to be aiming this claw and spraying repair foam when it's in this position. So I'll want that foam sprayer centered right along this center line where I'll be rotating. And just make sure our hose is in a good position. I'm liking that. And really just smoothed these bones, so I'll just insert those. And maybe again at frame 5. There we go. And that's our claw retracted idle. So go ahead and close that out. And now we'll call this claw X grab. So it's going to be starting from where the idle animation was. So just insert these. Then we'll go to the timeline for the rest of this. And instead of just going straight for the grab, I think I'd like a little animation here where it kind of signals it's preparing to grab. So, yeah, maybe frame 7's good for that. So it's just going to pull back a little bit and, you know, pull all of this really wide open before it lunges forward. There we go. I am preparing to grab. All right, that's looking good. So I'll just insert all of those. And it looks like we need to insert some more things for this. There we go. And gotta make sure this is the same as the idle animation. Claw, retracted idle. Right, and going back to the claw grab. There we go, that's looking better. Maybe even push this pose a little more, really sell that this thing is getting ready to do something. And then go back to our timeline. And I'm thinking it's going to, I don't know, like lunge forward to the point it's going to, but then it's going to like settle into the animation a little. So, and the way we modeled this, it's pretty much already extended where it needs where it needs to be at the end of it. So let's say that happens at this frame, 35. Just insert all of that there. But maybe I'd like this a little farther back. Insert that there. And let's see what we can do. So this frame's gonna be all about extending beyond what it's eventually going to do. And then this final frame is about settling into what it winds up extending to. There we go. So let's see what that looks like. Insert there. And I'm liking that. So let's have a look at how that looks. And that is way too slow. So let's shrink these down and get this going faster. Selecting all of these and just pressing S for scale. And I'm going to try and make that at least twice as fast as it was before. And yeah, frame 20, that's pretty good. And I'll just set this to like 40 so we can see it in the final position a little more. And that's looking better. I'll probably wind up even making that faster though. Maybe scale it down a little bit more. A nice fast grabbing motion. So now we're down to 14 frames. that might be all right. Let's see how that looks. And that's pretty good, actually. I think I'd like this initial frame to be even a little more pushed. So it rears back. But maybe it even goes farther back than that. And it doesn't need to be centered. We can even push this over here. See how that looks. We actually don't have a lot of frames to transition to that, but let's see how that looks. I'm going to move these over a little bit so we can get more of a sense of what the start of the animation is looking like. Or maybe we can do this in timeline, actually. Negative start. Nope, doesn't want to go beyond 0. So just pulling this around, give us a good sense of the start and finish of it. That's almost there. I think we need a little more time between these ones. So I'm going to select these frames, but leave the other one in place. Now, the rearing back taking some time is good, but the lunging forward could be a little faster. There we go. Oh, I like that. So now we got this slow telegraph. I'm preparing to grab, and then we got this fast. I'm now grabbing. And then it overextends just a little bit to really sell the force of the motion. Just overextends and pulls back. So let's look at that a little more. And that's almost there, but I think I'd like to do a little more with this keyframe. So what I'd like to do with this is, if this hose doesn't break when we do it, I like this to point a little in the direction that's preparing to go. Maybe move this over. And let's see if that looks better. There we go. Nice, nice exaggerated snap. But I think this claw could even get wider on that frame. Just push it as far as it'll go. Just really sell that this thing really wants whatever it's grabbing. little more tilt on this frame would be good too. If I can do it without messing up the hose, which is kind of strained to breaking point at this point. There we go. Let's try that again. Man, I just can't get this finger, this thumb piece to go back enough. That's probably gonna be a little much, but let's just try it. And that actually looks pretty nice, so I think I'll leave it like that. Yeah, I'm happy with that animation. So, going to go ahead and go back into our action editor and just move that back. There we go. Select all of these and pull these over here to start at keyframe 1. And we are just going to go back into our timeline. Going down here. And let's see, this ends on keyframe 11. So just 10 frames in this. Might wind up, and you know, it was definitely a good idea to spread that out a bit so it isn't looping like this. It really helps get an idea of what this looks like with the idles on either side. So now we're going to go ahead and save this animation. So going to our dope sheet, and this is actually already saved. So there's one more thing we need for this. We just go to the end frame. Oh, and actually there's one thing I forgot for this. So we'll go back to timeline for this. And the, turns out this is actually 13 frames long. And the thing that I forgot to do here is just go through this frame by frame and mostly make sure that these hoses aren't doing anything weird, because IK can tend to get away from you a little bit. So this one on top is actually looking pretty good. And no screwy motion there, so let's have a look at this one on the side. And I don't know, it's intersecting with itself a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. So now just going down here, moving into the grab. And yeah, it's all looking great. So now we're going to go to the end frame, copy all this. And this one's done, so yeah, we're going to need a claw extended idle now. So new claw extended idle. And let me think about this. So just going to go to frame 1, insert, frame 5, insert, and that one's all done. So we got claw retracted. We have got claw. Ooh, looks like our we need to take this frame and put it onto claw retracted. Make sure these two are identical. All right, so we got claw retracted. All right, then claw grab. It starts exactly the same. Then it just goes down here. and ends on frame 13. And then we have claw extended idle, same frame that ends the extend on. And that is all done. And let me see. So what else does this do? It has balloon animations. It's got the claw animation. Maybe I'd also like a little spraying fixer foam animation. That might be fun. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to be going back to our, looks like I got a duplicate of this. That's why we always want to be careful to press F on these. So, I'm just going to go ahead and change this second claw extended idle into the spray fixer foam animation. And that's going to be coming right out of this nozzle down here. And it's going to happen pretty much whenever this thing's repairing things on the station. So if it's patching up a window, just spray foam at it. You're fixing broken blocks, spray foam at it. You got a turret that needs fixing. Well, if you just spray the fixer foam at it, that'll fix it. So, that brings us to our patented Blender Robot Manufactory keyword of the day. And that is going to be just spray foam at it. There we go. And these Blender Robot Manufactory keywords of the day are not exchangeable for monetary value. And make sure to check with the local laws in your country or municipality in order to prevent legal action due to conflicts of interest. So just again, that is just spray foam at it, Blender Robot Manufactory keyword of the day. And we're going to be going back to our Blender scene. And now we're going to actually make this thing spray foam at it. So I'm pressing Alt-I to get rid of those keyframes. There we go, just deleting all these keyframes. And looks like that got rid of our extra animation. Or no, it's spray fixer foam. So now we're selecting all of these and inserting at frame number 1. And just going down here to our timeline. And maybe 13, 11 frames might be good. No, we'll do 21. Yeah, this can be a little more leisurely. So, maybe this does something while the other part's spraying foam. So, that could just move up there. Just before I start this animation, I'd like to think about how it's going to be moving. So then this is probably going to be mostly pointing forward, and then we can get a little jiggle here. And, I don't know, just get this thing animating a little bit without really changing the aim of it. So, going back to the start. So let's say it gets into spraying position first. And that's going to be at, let's make this 31 frames. So let's say that by frame 7 it's in spraying position. See what that looks like. So I'm thinking this moves up a bit. This rotates a little. This just gets that thumb out of the way. because this is both a claw and a foam sprayer. So that just moves where it won't be hindering the foam sprayer. And I want this part really pointed directly forward. Maybe we could even move this tube a little. So I think the foam's not coming out yet, so that's pretty good. And yeah, there we go. So now we've moved into spraying position. And I think I'd like this back a little more. And you know, I just realized we should be starting this from the retracted position, not the extended position. I think we might be backwards on this, so we're taking the retracted position and going back to the just spray foam at it, going to frame 1. And we actually want it there when it's starting, so it doesn't lose us a lot of work. And do I want this moving forward or back for this? So again, it would be nice if this rears back a little bit. So let's just insert those and see. Yeah, that's nice. I always like to do the reverse of an action before I do the action to make it feel like it's doing a little more movement, get that looking more dynamic. All right, so now it's clicked into sprayer mode. There we go. And let me see. So this is going to be ending again at the retracted position. And before it does that, it's going to be doing a little spray left and right. So our start is at frame 7. So, oh, let me think. Maybe 5 frames out. Frame 12, let's see how that looks. So now maybe we can move it over here. Though actually I think I'd like this frame to last a little, just linger on that clicked into place position a little. And copy that, delete this frame, and then we're going to frame 15 for that. And we're going to be trying to do a big sweep for this. And let's see if there's a way we can really, or I'll animate this tube at the end. Yeah, maybe we'll do a little here, so just there we go. This tube's going to be doing a lot of pumping right here. It moves over here. And just get all these parts working together. And really like to sell these motions, so Maybe we're even going to be going all the way over here, see if we can't extend this far enough. There we go. And let's just see if we move this back to the other side at frame 20. Is that too much motion? Well, that is pretty fast, but this is a robot, so we do want it to have these quick mechanical movements. But I'm thinking maybe that's a little much, so let's see if 25's better. Yeah, I'm liking that. So we're just going to change all of this around. Get looking like all these parts are really engaged in this movement. Just push that pose as far as it'll go. There we go. This can really swing out. What? Not that. And maybe this is even moving around a little. Yeah, I'm liking that, so. I'd really like it if this were moving around a bunch. Let's move this as much as I'll go. There we go. This thing's really working it. Wonder if maybe this should have a little jitter around thing. I don't know, maybe it could jitter around a little when the jets are going. But back to this animation, is there anything else I'd like to add to this keyframe? That's pretty good, actually. So I think it's going to do that a few more times, like 1, 2, maybe 6. So 10 per cycle. I don't know. Let's just put this up to 100 for now. Whoop, not that. There we go. And just go ahead and copy all of these. And then, where does that start? 15, so this one is going to 35. And 55. Let's see if we got enough now. One, two, three, four, five, six. Guess I should have made sure this hose isn't doing anything weird before I duplicate all this. So we just click into place and then take a good look at what this hose is doing frame by frame. That's not bad. It's going to have a particle going off here where it's just spraying the whole time. And I think that's pretty good. So then it clicks back into place, kind of reverses this motion. I think we'll just duplicate all these frames for that. So copy this, 5 frames after this, it goes here. And 3 frames later, it's here. And then like 3 more frames to the very end. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But maybe I could add a little bit in the center of that motion so it clicks into place. Then, what if it pulls up a little in the middle? Gotta make sure I don't mess up the hose doing this, but I feel like that's adding something, so check the hose, make sure it's not messed up, which it is. So we'll just go to our keyframe and move the hose out a little. There we go. So now we'll copy these to the middles of the rest of those. Is this a metal frame? Yes, it is. Just having a good look at this. Like to watch animations for a while, see if anything pops out at me. Really zoom in on this hose action. And get a nice slow motion view, frame by frame. And I got no problems with that. So now, might like this hose to look more like it's pumping. See how we can do that. So what's it doing right now? It's moving over into that position. What if I did that in the middle? Doesn't really add a lot. Let's see if we can even tell a difference between that first hose motion. Yeah, I don't know if that's worth it. Well, it's certainly not hurting anything. Just have another look at this. I think that might be doing something, so what if I scaled this? Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna be inserting some scale keyframes. Maybe we'll even do it for the nozzle too. So let's say it's largest when it's right here. Just kind of eyeball this. Then we can shrink it down. There we go. And there's no real reason this should be scaling, but it does help to sell the animation. So maybe even push that farther, see how that looks. I'll go back and play this and see what that did. I need to do this a few more times to really get the effect. That's between, so it's small. Extent, so it's large. Between is small. The extent, it's large. Really going all out on this. All right, so make it big, small, big, and normal size. Now I can see if this is doing anything interesting. And I'm liking that. Thinking, why not even make it a little bigger? Been really enjoying putting more scaling into animations. Like I just made this as this rigid part that really has no right getting larger and smaller, but really helps sell the animation. And I'm gonna be wanting to do the opposite with this. So just kind of eyeballing it, but trying to keep this about the same size on screen. There we go, just jumping from keyframe to keyframe. Could even be a little smaller here. And really scale that down. All right, now I can probably cut and paste here, so cut that. Do all the lefts. All the centers can be the same. And the right side. I need to scale this way down. Let's see how that looks. It's looking cool. So I think the hose should do the same thing. So maximum extension means giant hose. And giant hose here. Try to rotate that out of the way. And just insert that. Probably need to insert the rotation too. There we go, insert that. That looks a little more like it's pumping. It's copying this and going through all of these right frames. Let's just have a look at how that looks. Might be a little much. Don't want this extending too far out. So going back to our scaling, insert this. Just copying this to all of these right frames. Or left, I guess. Whatever direction that is. There we go, this one too. And not to forget about this one. That's looking better, so Now this middle one, this hose is just going to be tiny and stretched out. Insert there. Copy that, and let's see, where is the center here? Right here. And also right here. Just insert that here. There we go. So it happens pretty fast, but now the hose is, looks like it's pumping a little more. So let's try that. Just gonna watch this for a bit, make sure it's looking right. Maybe I'd like that middle frame of there to, I don't know, I'd like it to push out a little more. Want it to look skinny, but still, I don't know, still kind of follow it. Yeah, you know it's good. Really have that hose moving around there. Maybe this lock into place could be a little longer. Just push that out to a good 80 frames. There we go. That's really spraying all over the place. Oh, we've got a massive jump right there. Like it's doing that on all of those. So it moves here and then it just jumps. Let's see if we can get rid of that. Is this better? Okay, we might still have some work to do on this. Okay, this one has the metal frame intact. So right, middle, and copy this. It looks like we lost a bit of work on this, but it'll be good. we go. Right now, we got a, just gonna insert all these metal frames. That one looks all right. Then recopy this left frame. That one's looking all right. Let's make sure the right frames are good. And look at that one more time. There's something right over here I'm not liking. Is it right at the end? Is that 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. It's like that's taking longer or something. So this is 54. Yeah, somehow we got a bigger metal in there. It's the middle at 40. This keyframe can just go. Maybe it can't. Can this keyframe go? Not so much. So bump, bump. Grabbing this, we're going to insert it on the last one. Get rid of this. And then we're going to scoot all this back a little. It's looking better. Still feels like it's doing a little more there. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. So do we need this? So now these can be scooted back. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 4 is still a little sluggish. Like a nice even rhythm with this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's about right. It does a little bit of a snap right here where it extends way out. I think that actually gives it some character. I'm going to keep it. Cool. So I think after all of that, this line's about done. Maybe I'll try to clean up the keyframes again, see if that breaks it. Go back to the dope sheet. Clean keyframes, don't clean the channels. Maybe clean the channels. And let's have another look at this, see if it still looks right. Yeah, it's perfect. And this really ends at 81. Cool. Other thing I was wondering about is, no, we'll leave it for now. Then we're just going back and getting, closing this animation. So I think we might actually be done with this model. We got the claw extender. Can rear back and grab stuff. And, oh yeah, that's for a different part of it. Can spray foam. And it can do stuff with its balloons. Cool, so now I think we're gonna call it an episode and go ahead and save all of this. There we go. So I think we've actually finished off this project, Friendly Robots. So we've got our friendly robot to patch the holes in the side of the station so we don't get sucked out into the harsh vacuum of space. And let's just move on down. This one is done. Our next project's going to be Insidious Humans. And they haven't quite decided what kind of human we're going to be making for this. Maybe one of the scientist who works on the station, or maybe some kind of mech pilot, probably one of those two. So we'll be modeling a human character from scratch, rigging them up, and giving them a walk animation, just mostly just to demonstrate how I make walk animations. I already have one in the game that I'm applying to pretty much all of the characters, but I'd still like to do at least one walk animation on the show. And again, this week we'll be trying something a little different with the schedule. So we'll be broadcasting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday and Thursday, and 2 p.m. Eastern Time again next Saturday. So thank you so much for joining me, and as always, be the apex predator of your own ecosystem.